Hi, I'm back with another tutorial, and this time I'm going to show you guys how to make something that spins like this, just with the objective of hurling your guy somewhere. If you've played any of my levels, you probably have noticed that I have quite a few throwing things like this throughout many of my levels, because they're just fun to hurl your guy through space. To start off the tutorial though, I think I'd give a neat little trick how I got the background to be space. You just go to Window, Lighting, Settings, and then here in the skybox material there's this little dot, and instead of selecting sky, you just select space, and a double click should do it there. Normally though, after you choose that, there'll still be clouds floating around in space, and to get rid of that, you just select the level object, and then you check this box right here that says no clouds, and that'll get rid of the clouds floating around in your space for you. Okay, so how to build this. Just like my last tutorial, I'm going to use ProBuilder primarily, and I'm just going to start out by getting all the parts of it that I need. Now that spinning bit, that's just a cylinder. So I'm going to start with the Create Shape tool, select cylinder here, and I'm gonna set its radius to 3. That's a good size. You can go much bigger or much smaller. I like around 3 or 4. To get it standing up, I'm gonna set the rotation here to 90 on the z-axis, and that'll stand it up real nice for us. Now last thing, not enough sides to make it look like a nice cylinder. So I'm gonna up the sides to 20. Anything between like 15 and 25 works, but 20 just gives it a more round cylinder shape. So I'm going to build that. I'm going to raise it up a bit to get it off the ground, and then, I don't know if you remember from my last tutorial, but working with all these different faces can be a real pain. So in my ProBuilder selector here, I'm going to switch to face selection, and then I'm going to just click and drag, and I can actually select all the faces at one time doing that. And then I'm going to merge those faces there. Merge faces. Perfect. One more tip and trick. Sometimes when you open ProBuilder, it will look like this. This is easier for new people. Like if you're brand new to ProBuilder, having all the options listed as a text can be helpful, but I personally prefer the icon mode just because it's quicker for me to recognize the specific icons. Alright, when I make a thrower, you can do it just a plain cylinder. I like to give it a little bevel though, just to make it look nice. So I'm going to extrude these sides about the same amount, and then I'm going to go back to the scale tool with the face selected, and I'm just going to shrink the face down a little bit after I'd extruded it out. And this is just an aesthetic touch, but I like how it looks a little bit better than just using a straight flat cylinder. Okay, not perfect, but it works. To color it, again from my last tutorial, I'm sure you'll remember, first I'm just going to color it all blue, like that, and then I'm going to select the side faces, hit Grow Selection, and then deselect the two sides that I don't want to change. I'm going to put my gray material on there to make it look like that. There we go. Nice blue looking cylinder base to start with. I'm just going to move it real quick to the center of the platform so it looks a little bit better for us. Okay. I'm going to use ProBuilder again to make the sides. I'm just going to start with a plain cube just like that. Move it to the center of the cylinder. And then I'm going to shape it real quick into what I want the side to look like. So I want it to be just off of the cylinder so it's not interfering with it there. I want this side to go in, makes it look nicer. I'm going to select the bottom, and then I'm going to hold shift to do my extrude. Then I'm going to use my scale tool to shrink it down a little bit. actually going to move that back up. And then again, hold shift. I'm going to pull it all the way down to the floor. Perfect for a little stand there. Now I'm just going to just copy it, paste it, and move the pasted copy over to the other side. So I got my nice little stand here. Now I'm going to put a cylinder as the axis. So it's called axle. Axle, that's what I meant to say. So I don't want the radius as that anymore. I'm going to set the radius to 0.3. Number of sides, because it's much smaller, doesn't need nearly as many. I'm just going to put 10. I'm going to put it at 90-degree rotation to get a good axle size. I'm just going to build that. Move it to where I want. Good enough. And now it's not nearly long enough. Quickest way to fix that is just use the scale tool, pull it up, and now we got a nice, just again, aesthetically pleasing axle for it to be spinning on. You don't need it for the game mechanics, right? It'll work just fine without it, but it just looks nicer to have it look like the wheel is spinning on something. I'll just texture these real quick with whatever textures to make it look nice. Okay, so we have all the parts for our spinning bit that we need. Now we just need to make this bad boy spin. So what it needs first of all is, if it's a Pro Builder object, you'll see this new component called PB_entity. Now if it's set as detail, this will not move. But if I select mover instead, this becomes an object that can move. And that's only necessary with Pro Builder objects. If you didn't make it with Pro Builder, then this won't even be here and you won't have to worry about changing anything with it. To make it spin, I need a hinge joint. You can find it under physics, hinge joint, right here. And this will change it so it's an object that will spin on this axis that it put down. Now you notice this axis is pointing up and down right now. So if I were to leave this as it is, it would spin in a circle around like this, around that red circle. And that's not what I want. So I need, instead of having the axis on X, I'm going to set that to 0. I'm going to put a 1 in the Y spot. And that tells the joint that I want it spinning this way instead of around in a circle like it was before. So that's good. The last thing, I mean, a lot of people run into this issue when you make a moving object, when you send your character over to go and grab it, it's not actually going to be grabbable. The reason for this is, if I look over here, my mesh collider is not on convex. This is not necessary if you don't want the object to move. Like these pillars right here, I don't care if they move or not. And so their mesh collider is okay not being convex. However, this, because it is going to be a moving object, I need to set convex on the mesh collider. And now my character can grab it, and because of the hinge joint where it is, he can just spin around like this. And there's lots of fun puzzles that you can do just like this. You can set it without it spinning in itself, just so your guy has to throw himself like that. However, that's not what we want. We want it to hurl you quickly. And so to do that, we're going to come back to the hinge joint component of the spinner. We're going to click the use motor box, and then these two boxes we want to set to our motor specifics. So the velocity, a good spinning velocity is like 175. If it's any bigger than this, you're going to want to use less than that, or if it's smaller, you can use more. And then force, I always just set it to 500,000. Something like that will just make sure it's got enough force, but you can never have too much there as far as I'm concerned. The last thing I want to change is the rigid body. Right now it's only got a mass of 1. And in the physics of this game, the mass of an object matters a lot. And if something has too little mass, you'll find that your character doesn't interact with it very well. And so I'm just going to set the mass as 500. Again, it's an arbitrary number. As long as it has more than a character, it'll usually be okay. Alright, so that is everything we need to do. I think we should test it out first to make sure it's everything we actually need to do. There we go. Spinning thrower. If you set the speed too high, your guy will just fly off of it immediately. And if you don't set the speed high enough, then it won't throw you anywhere. But hopefully that gives you enough of a background that you can make one of these on your own and apply the hinge joint especially to lots of other puzzles throughout the game.